Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said to his disciples, "If the world hates you, remember that it hated me before you. If you belong to the world would love you as its own. But because you do not belong to the world, because my choice withdrew you from the world, therefore the world hates you. Remember the words I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you too. If they kept my word, they will keep yours as well. But it will be on my account that they will do all this, because they do not know the one who sent me." The Gospel of the Lord. One of the most powerful moments in a funeral mass can be at the very end, when the person is being carried down the aisle and the hymn, "How Great Thou Art," is being sung. And sometimes many people in the congregation join in that hymn. The church is singing, the place is full, and there is such power, such heavenly power. And this morning, as we gather to celebrate this Mass for all our dead, I'm very aware that some of you at this Mass have been recently bereaved. And your experience of the death and the burial of your loved one has been horrific. You could not be present with them when they were dying. You could not have a wake for them in the normal way. And for a time, some of you couldn't have a funeral, and those of you who could only have a very small number present. It is absolutely cruel. And our normal way of accompanying the dying and facing death is so healthy and true. And while it doesn't take away any pain, it does bring consolation. And where do we find this consolation in these strange and awful times? And maybe, just maybe, the terrible circumstances of death at the moment can help us to reflect on another aspect of death. And that aspect of death is from the perspective of the one who is dying. What is happening for the one who is dying? And that brings us back to "How Great Thou Art." In the second verse we sing, "When Christ shall come with shouts of acclamation and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart." And this reveals the twofold action in death. When someone is dying, Jesus is coming. The two actions are happening together, and the moment of death is when the two actions meet. And Jesus is not coming quietly. He is coming with shouts of acclamation. There's energy, there's joy, there's life. And what we see is the sapping of energy when breathing becomes too difficult. We experience no joy but profound sadness. We see a letting go of life and an invasion of death. But that's what we see, and what many of you couldn't see in the recent past. But it's different for the one who is dying. They begin to hear the noise of Jesus coming. Their attention is redirected, and a whole new world is opening up for them. And then something very beautiful happens, and I believe that it's summed up in another hymn, and that is the action, the movement from this life to the fullness of life. And that hymn is the old spiritual, "Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home." You see, maybe Jesus comes in the chariot, and it is from there that we hear the shouts of acclamation, and the chariot swings low, and Jesus scoops us up in his arms and brings us home. There is a beautiful moment of life and joy and love and homecoming in what happens. And while we want to be there for that moment of meeting, our absence doesn't change the joy in the moment for the one who is dying. You see, we don't belong in this world. Yes, we think we do because we can't remember not being here. We can't remember the time before we were formed in the womb of our mother. But Jesus reminds us in the gospel today that we do not belong in the world. And when we hear the sound of Jesus coming for us, if we have stayed close to Jesus in this life, we recognize his voice. And everything starts coming back to us, and we know that we're going home. St. Therese, when she speaks about death, says, "Yes, I'm like a tired and harassed traveller who reaches the end of his journey and falls over. Yes, but I'll be falling into God's arms." Today, we pray for all our loved ones who have died. We pray that they have fallen freely into the strong arms of Jesus, who has scooped them up into his chariot and brought them home. And then, as the hymn reminds us, what joy must fill their hearts.